Esau was a hairy man, Jacob he was smooth, smooth in action, smooth in speech, and oh so sly from babyhood. Esau was a hunting man, Jacob he chopped wood, built a fire, made some stew, and Esau saw that it was good. Esau was a hungry man, so from where he stood, he gave up his birthright, gave it up for Jacob's food. Esau he was gullible, Jacob he was cool, stole his brother's blessing, go read it in God's holy book. Esau was an angry man, that's when Jacob flew, ran away from Esau's wrath, what else was there for him to do?
Hello children, welcome back to Sunday School, Traveling with God's Family, the next generation. Do you remember last time how Jacob was in Haran with his uncle Laban and how he ended up with 4 wives? But do you remember how Rachel, the wife he really loved, didn't have any children? And then finally she had a child.
Rachel, she was beautiful, Jacob he believed. Laban gave her as his bride, but Jacob was by him deceived. Leah was not beautiful, Jacob loved her less, but God gave her many sons to comfort her in her distress.
The child that Rachel bore to Jacob was named Joseph. After Joseph was born, Jacob began to think that it was about time for him to go back to his own country. He'd been away 20 years, a long, long time. He did not know whether his mother and father were still alive. He had not heard from them during all those 20 years. Rebekah had promised to send for him when she thought it was safe for him to come back, but she had not. Jacob did not know that she had died. Jacob had served his uncle Laban 14 years for his 2 wives, Leah and Rachel. Then he had served 6 years for wages. Laban paid him in sheep and goats. He told Jacob he might have all the brown sheep and goats, and all the speckled and spotted ones. Now it so happened, when all the new little goats and lambs were born, that a great many of them were brown and speckled and spotted. Jacob, of course, took those for his. So Jacob got a great many sheep and goats, and many camels and donkeys. He also had men servants and maid servants. He was a rich man. Indeed, he was much richer than Laban. Laban began to be jealous of Jacob. He was not pleasant to him any more, as he had been before. About this time, the Lord spoke to Jacob in a dream and said to him, "Go back to your own land, and I will be with you." Before he made plans to go away, Jacob wanted to see what his wives Leah and Rachel thought about it. Since Laban was not friendly, he did not want him to hear what he said to them. He told them to come far out in the field, where he was taking care of the sheep. Then he said, "I see that your father is not friendly to me any more. You know that I have worked with all my might for him, doing my very best. You know that he has not treated me fairly. He has cheated me 10 times. But God has taken care of me and has not let him hurt me. God has spoken to me in a dream, and he said to me, I am the God of Bethel, where you set up a stone and poured oil upon it, and where you made a vow to me after you'd seen the angels on the ladder. Now I tell you to go back to your old home, where your family lives." Jacob's wives were quite content to go with him, back to his old home. They answered, "Our father does not treat us well any longer either. Do whatever God has told you to do." Jacob knew that if Laban found out that he was going away, he would not like it, and perhaps would not let him go. The only way that he could leave was to go without letting Laban know. Now it happened that Laban was going away for a few days to shear his sheep. Jacob thought that this was the time for him to leave. He got everything ready. His servants brought the camels, and Jacob put his wives and children on the backs of the animals. Joseph was only a baby. He had to be carried in his mother's arms, or perhaps in his nurse's arms when his mother was tired. Jacob took all his household goods and all his flocks and herds to go back to the home of his father Isaac in Canaan. They took tents to sleep in at night, for it was a long journey of 300 miles that they had before them. It would take them at least a month to make this long journey with all the young animals that they had with them, the little lambs and goats, the baby asses and the baby camels. They started off secretly when Laban had gone to shear his sheep. They'd been gone for 3 days before someone told Laban that Jacob and his family had gone for good. Laban and his brothers started after Jacob. They traveled for 7 days before they caught up with him. I do not know what Laban was going to do to Jacob, but just then God appeared to Laban and told him to be very careful not to say anything threatening to Jacob. The next day, when Laban met Jacob, he spoke very politely to him, and they set up a pillar and a heap of stones, and each made a promise that he would not go past that pillar to do harm to the other. Then Laban stayed all night with Jacob. In the morning, Laban kissed his 2 daughters and his little grandsons and went back home to his own country, while Jacob went on. Jacob was still afraid of his brother Esau. He was afraid that Esau might kill him and his family when he went back home. He sent some servants to his brother Esau to find out if Esau was angry with him still. He commanded them to speak very politely and humbly to Esau. The messengers came back and told Jacob, "We saw your brother, and he's coming to meet you with 400 men. Then Jacob became very much afraid that Esau was coming to kill him and his wives and little children. All those that were with Jacob, together with the camels and the flocks and the herds, Jacob divided into 2 groups, so that if Esau should come to one company, then the other company of people would be able to escape. Then Jacob did what all people should do when they are in trouble. He prayed to God, saying, "O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, you have said to me, 'Return to my country, and I'll be with you.' I'm not worthy of all your mercy and of all the truth which you showed me. I was all alone when I passed over this Jordan before, and you have blessed me, so that I've become 2 companies. Save me, I pray, from my brother Esau, for I fear him, lest he will come and kill me and the mother with the children." Then Jacob put together a beautiful present for Esau. This was the present: 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats, 200 sheep and 20 rams, 30 mother camels and all of them with babies, 40 cows and 10 bulls, and 20 donkeys with their babies. Wasn't that a pretty fine present to give to Esau? But who knows how Esau would react? There was a little river called the Jabbok in the place where they lodged that night. Esau sent everyone over the river, but he stayed alone that night and slept. And something amazing happened that night, which we'll have to wait till next time to hear about.
Rachel, she was beautiful, Jacob he believed. Laban gave her as his bride, but Jacob was by him deceived. Leah was not beautiful, Jacob loved her less, but God gave her many sons to comfort her in her distress. Jacob labored many years for Laban in Haran. Then God told him to go home with all he had to his own clan.